Me, 30M, with my coworker, project manager, IDK, 34F, few months. Pen, company ink, babies, freak. I never thought I'd find myself in a situation like this, but here I am, sharing my story with you all. I'm a 30-year-old software developer, and about 5 months ago, I started working on a fascinating project at a large firm. This project required me to collaborate closely with a project manager named Laura, who is 34 years old. At first, Laura was a bit distant, likely due to her past experiences with my company. However, as we worked together and I proved my dedication, our relationship began to shift. We were part of a small team, but most of my work revolved around Laura. She was brilliant, and I admired her not just for her intelligence, but also for her passion and hard work. After we hit a significant project milestone, we decided to celebrate with drinks. I offered to walk her home, since we live nearby, and one thing led to another. We ended up spending the night together, and that became a regular occurrence. For the next few months, we maintained a casual arrangement. We were friends with benefits, meeting up a few times a week, but we kept our work and personal lives separate. We didn't take lunch breaks together or engage in anything outside of our project. I was completely focused on my job, and so was she. Then one day, everything changed. Laura came over to my place, and I could sense something was off. I thought she might be ending things, but instead she dropped a bombshell. She was 8 weeks pregnant. My heart sank, and in my shock, the first question that escaped my lips was, "Is it mine?" Her reaction was immediate and intense. She burst into tears and left my apartment, leaving me feeling like I had just made the biggest mistake of my life. I tried to reach out to her, but she didn't respond. I was a bundle of nerves, wondering if she was considering an abortion or if she needed space. I felt utterly lost and desperate to talk to her. In the days that followed, I was consumed with worry. Friends noticed I was off, and I couldn't focus on anything. I debated whether to send her an email, show up at her door, or just wait for her to contact me. I knew I had messed up, but I wanted to support her, no matter what she decided. After a few days of silence, I decided to take a different approach. I bought a teddy bear and sewed its foot to its mouth, attaching a little card that simply said, "I'm sorry." I left it at her door on my way to work, hoping it would convey my feelings without overwhelming her. To my surprise, just an hour later, I received a text from Laura. She wanted to have a serious conversation. My heart raced as I realized this could be my chance to clear the air and discuss what was next for us. I realized that this unexpected turn of events had forced both of us to confront our feelings and responsibilities. Laura had decided to keep the baby, and we were both stepping into uncharted territory together. While the future was uncertain, I knew one thing for sure. I wanted to be there for her and our child. This experience has taught me a lot about communication, responsibility, and the importance of being prepared for the unexpected. As we navigate this new chapter in our lives, I'm hopeful that we can build a strong foundation for our family, no matter what challenges lie ahead. Let me take you on a journey that started in the most unexpected way. I'm a 30-year-old guy, and I found myself in a whirlwind of emotions when I discovered that my coworker, Laura, who was 4 years older than me, was pregnant. It all began when I decided to take a half day off work to see the first picture of my child, the sonogram. I was so excited that I could hardly contain myself. When I arrived at the clinic, I was a bundle of nerves. I started apologizing profusely, fumbling over my words, trying to explain myself. But Laura, being the understanding person she is, stopped me in my tracks. She reassured me that she wasn't mad and that she had been anxious about telling me the news. It turned out I was the first person she was sharing this with, and she was worried about how I would react. She had even feared that I might want her to terminate the pregnancy. As we talked, she mentioned that she was 100% committed to keeping the baby, but she also made it clear that if I didn't want to be involved, she wouldn't take me to court. Honestly, I couldn't help but laugh at that. I told her she was crazy if she thought I wouldn't prioritize this child. It was a relief to see her visibly relax at my response. The conversation quickly shifted to practical matters. Laura suggested we get a paternity test once the baby arrives, which I thought was a reasonable idea. She also brought up names, wanting to choose the first name, but with my approval, and she insisted it should carry my last name. It felt like she had a checklist of how to ease a nervous soon-to-be father, and I was grateful for it. Then I took a leap of faith and confessed my feelings for her. I told her I was falling for her, and honestly, our work relationship felt like the least important thing at that moment. To my surprise, she admitted she felt the same way, but we had both been hesitant to bring it up because of our professional ties. I asked her to be my girlfriend, and she joked about how it took a baby to get there. We agreed to communicate openly from that point forward. No more silent treatments. As we continued to discuss our future, we decided that it would be best for us to live separately until the baby arrives. Once the little one is here, Laura would rent out her condo and move into mine. It might not be a perfect plan, but it felt like a good compromise. We knew we had time to figure out how to handle our work situation, especially since Laura wouldn't start showing for a couple of months. Now, the next big step was to tell our families. I was still feeling a mix of excitement and fear, but at least we had a plan. I shared the news with my mom, who was supportive and even suggested moving in sooner. I noticed a lot of comments online about discussing finances and getting a paternity test, which we had already touched on. Together, our combined income was over $300,000. So, we felt confident we could manage our expenses. Laura had told me I was the first person she had been with in nearly a year, and while there was always a possibility she could have been seeing someone else, I trusted her. She was responsible and honest, and I intended to give her the benefit of the doubt until proven otherwise. We both recognized that starting a relationship and a family this way wasn't ideal, but we were committed to doing our best for our child. If we didn't end up being a great couple, that was okay. Our main goal was to provide a loving environment for our baby. If we could navigate this journey together, our relationship would be the cherry on top. And so, with a mix of hope and uncertainty, we stepped into this new chapter, ready to embrace the challenges and joys of parenthood together. Am I the bad guy for throwing all my sister's past relationships and how often she has cheated in her face when I told her I was done with her? Growing up, my sister and I never really saw eye to eye. She's 27 and I'm 25, and it feels like there's been a rift between us for as long as I can remember. She often sees me as the golden child, a title I never asked for, especially considering my struggles with a speech impairment and asthma that required a lot of our parents' attention. Over the years, she's accused me of manipulating our parents for attention, claiming that my speech issues were just a ploy to take the spotlight away from her. It's been tough because she blames me for everything, like when our parents would check in on me while they were away with her, or how I got to spend time with our grandparents when she didn't. No matter what, it always seemed like I was the source of her resentment. Even now, as adults, things haven't improved. I try to keep my distance, seeing her only a few times a year, but the tension is palpable. One of the biggest points of contention is her relationships. She has a habit of jumping from one partner to another, and I've seen her cheat on nearly every boyfriend she's had, including 2 of my friends. It's painful to watch, especially when she tries to blame me for her relationship failures. Just this past Christmas, she brought up our childhood grievances again, and I reached my breaking point. In that moment, I told her she was a cruel bully, that she needed to stop blaming me for her choices, and that I was done with her. I didn't hold back, and I made it clear that I wouldn't be a part of her life anymore. She reacted by saying I was shaming her to our family, claiming I called her names I never actually used. Our parents have since clarified that I didn't insult her, but some of our cousins still believe her side of the story. Since that day, I've cut off all contact with her, but the fallout has been hard, and still being criticized for what I said, and many people think I've been unfair to her my whole life. I can admit that maybe I shouldn't have brought up her relationships, but I felt like I had to stand up for myself after years of being her scapegoat. So, am I the bad guy for finally confronting her?
Am I the bad guy for not accepting my mom's relationship and cutting our relationship off because of it? When I was around 14, a family friend introduced his younger brother Jacob to my mom and me. Jacob was just a couple of years older than me, and at first, everything seemed normal. Our family friend lived nearby, so we often saw them. Over the next few months, Jacob started coming over to our house frequently, sometimes every other day, usually to watch movies with my mom. I spent most of my time in my room, but I couldn't help but notice how often he was around. When I asked my mom about it, she assured me he was just new to town and didn't know anyone yet. As holidays approached, I noticed Jacob giving my mom flowers and gifts. That's when I began to feel uncomfortable and voiced my concerns. My mom insisted it was cultural, claiming I was overreacting. Our conversations quickly turned into arguments, and she would accuse me of being a terrible daughter for not trusting her, leaving me feeling guilty and in tears. Things escalated when I was 15. One day, I walked downstairs and caught my mom and Jacob kissing on the couch. I was shocked and immediately retreated to my room. They followed me upstairs, knocking on my door, but I locked it. Eventually, my mom sent Jacob away and wanted to explain, but I told her there was nothing to explain. I felt betrayed and asked her not to have him in the house out of respect for me. Yet, he was back that same night. Fast forward 5 years, and they were still together. This relationship had become a constant source of conflict between my mom and me. I issued multiple ultimatums over the years, the most serious being in April 2025, when I told her that if she continued seeing Jacob, I wouldn't have a relationship with her anymore. She dismissed my feelings, saying I was jealous and judgmental, insisting that her relationship shouldn't affect me. I eventually let it go like I always did, but by early 2026, I had reached my limit. Now at 20, still living at home, I had emotionally detached from her. I treated her like a roommate, and we barely spoke. She knew nothing about my life. The loneliness and isolation I felt were overwhelming, and I realized I hadn't had a real relationship with my mom since I was a teenager. Around the time all of this started, I had been diagnosed with depression and anxiety. The betrayal I felt at 15 had shaped my teen years and permanently damaged our relationship. For years, my mom told family and friends that I was a distant and resentful daughter, which was true, but she never explained why. This left me feeling isolated and judged without context. Recently, I broke down and told her how alone I felt, saying through tears, "I just want my mom back." That same night, she went to stay at Jacob's place, and that was the final straw for me. I understand she's my mom and has the right to have a relationship. But the lies, the age difference when it started, and the way my feelings have been dismissed for years made it impossible for me to move on. So I wondered, am I the bad guy for not accepting her relationship and emotionally distancing myself from her because of it? As an only child of a single parent, I've always felt a strong sense of duty to support my mom. I'm Hispanic, where tradition emphasizes honoring parents. I went to college right after high school and now have a good job. My dream has always been to help my mom financially, as she sacrificed so much for me. She does housekeeping and doesn't have a retirement plan, so I'm essentially all she has for her future. I don't want to abandon her, but it burdens me to help her after everything that's happened. I hate feeling resentful toward her. I don't want to be that person. I've even thought that maybe the best way to handle things would be to move out, ghost her, and just send her money each month.